Greetings fellow cultivators. Welcome to Audio Nova. Remember to like and subscribe to support the journey. Today, we're diving into the story of what's the point of cultivating immortality if you don't have money. Looking back at Zhao Tianxing, who was still standing there, Zhang Yu urged, "Get to work, little Zhao. Slacking off here?" Only then did Zhao Tianxing hurry to catch up, and couldn't help but look back at Bai Zhenzhen, who was carrying dishes, a few more times, thinking in his heart they definitely won't believe it if I tell them back at school. Bai Zhenzhen is actually working part-time. Did something happen to her family? After the two patrolled for another round, Zhao Tianxing followed Zhang Yu to an empty emergency exit, where he saw Zhang Yu suddenly sit down cross-legged, and say, "Don't just stand there, let's take a break together." Zhao Tianxing ha. "But the captain told us to keep patrolling. What if he finds out?" "Zhang Yu, the art exhibition hasn't even started yet, what's there to patrol? Besides, in this central building, what problems do you think could possibly arise?" Saying that, Zhang Yu smiled again and said, "Besides, didn't you want to chat with me? I might as well talk to you about your way of being a security guard." Hearing this, Zhao Tianxing also remembered Wang Hai's instructions. And Zhang Yu, on the other side, had already uttered a shocking statement: being a security guard is all about slacking off. Zhao Tianxing ha. Zhang Yu continued, "Whether you patrol a few more times or a few less times, will the reward change?" Zhao Tianxing hesitated for a moment, and asked, "It seems not." Zhang Yu asked again, "With us or without us at this venue, will the security level decrease?" Zhao Tianxing scratched his head. "It seems it won't either." "But," Zhang Yu, "but the time we steal is our own." "All right, I'll rest for a while first. We'll go out later when the art exhibition officially starts." Looking at Zhang Yu, who had closed his eyes and already started breathing exercises, Zhao Tianxing became a little nervous, fearing that he would be discovered slacking off at work. Taking another look at Zhang Yu, who had completely entered a meditative state, Zhao Tianxing admired the other party for seizing every moment to cultivate, yet also felt that the other party was too carefree. "That's not right. Wasn't I going to chat with him about buying medicine? How did I end up chatting about slacking off?" Suddenly, Zhao Tianxing's eyes flickered, recalling Zhang Yu's words just now, as if he was deep in thought. Zhao Tianxing was the kind of person who wasn't very good at socializing, yet was delicate and sensitive, always caring about other people's thoughts, and easily overthinking things. At this moment, recalling what Zhang Yu had just said, he realized that everything seemed to align with what he was doing. "Whether I ask him a few more questions or a few less questions, will Teacher Wang Hai not guide me? If Teacher Wang Hai lacks me to investigate the news, is it as if he can't investigate anything at all? Could it be that Zhang Yu has already seen what I'm going to do? Is he deliberately hinting at me, telling me to slack off a little too?" Thinking of this, when Zhao Tianxing looked at Zhang Yu, who was meditating, again, he only felt that the other party's breathing seemed to become a little unfathomable. Along with the flow of mana throughout his body, Zhang Yu pushed the heavenly cycle key gathering technique to after silently circulating his mana for a week, and the art exhibition finally officially began. As expected of an art exhibition hosted by Mrs. Li, the guests who come are all rich and powerful. Looking at the guests attending the art exhibition, Zhao Tianxing felt a heartfelt sigh. Although he didn't know who these people were, just from the luxurious clothes and accessories on their bodies, he could tell that each and every one of them was of considerable value. Even though Zhao Tianxing's father was already a small leader in a company, and the economic situation was considered good, he could still recognize that many of the luxury goods on these people were definitely unaffordable for their family. Just then, Zhang Yu whispered beside him, "Old Zhao, look at that." Zhao Tianxing followed the direction of the other party's pursed lips, and immediately saw a golden figure, walking in under the crowd's support. He stared intently, only to discover that the person's skin, all over their body, was like a layer of gold leaf, reflecting a faint golden light. Zhang Yu on the side curiously asked, "What is that? A robot?" Zhao Tianxing quickly covered Zhang Yu's mouth, nervously watching that golden figure not look towards them, and only then did he gently exhale a breath. Then, Zhao Tianxing released his palm and explained, "That is the Sun City General Manager of the Xiong Group. You must never speak carelessly." Xiong Group. Zhang Yu curiously looked at the golden figure and asked again, "Then how does he look so shiny?" Zhao Tianxing explained, "That is a Dharma frame, don't you know?" Looking at Zhang Yu's blank expression, Zhao Tianxing thought, that the other party's family probably didn't have access to these things, so he patiently explained again, Dharma frame. How should I put it? It's somewhat like a prosthetic limb, but it's much stronger than a prosthetic limb, or anything else. Moreover, in terms of immortal Tao technology, Dharma frames have already expanded to the entire human body. It's as if any part of the human body can be replaced with a magical treasure, and while retaining the original function, greatly improve various abilities. However, only those with a mana power of 100 or more can implant a Dharma frame in their body. Zhang Yu's eyes flickered upon hearing this. He knew that 100 mana power was already the upper limit that the key refining realm's mana power could reach. He asked, is it that 100 points of mana power is enough to implant a Dharma frame, or is it necessary to establish a foundation first? Zhao Tianxing 100 points of mana power is enough, but this person is a true foundation establishment realm cultivator, from a famous family, and graduated from the Myriad Dharma University. Zhang Yu understood. The foundation establishment ancestor graduated from university, and ran to the first floor to fry fish, showing off and slapping faces in front of their group of stubborn key, refining cultivators, right? Next, as more and more guests arrived, Zhang Yu also saw two figures, who seemed to possess Dharma frames, one with eyes like gemstones, and the other with a halo floating behind his head. The style of painting was completely different from the other rich people around. These two, along with their Xiong group director shimmering in gold, were like three centers, constantly attracting one refining key cultivator after another, who wished they could kneel and kowtow before them. Zhao Tianxing, at this moment, seemed to gradually adapt to the security guard uniform, and no longer appeared so awkward-looking at the passing guests. As the two patrolled, they inadvertently overheard some of the guests' conversations. Some marveled at Mrs. Li Zulian's deep pockets. Others praised the paintings on display, discussing how excellent they were and how much they should be worth. Naturally, some also talked about the celestial combat diagram painted by a core formation true person. Brotherly, could it be that you've also come to comprehend the celestial combat diagram personally, painted by Senior Xinghe? Of course. If any young genius under the age of 20 can master the martial arts within, Senior Xinghe will directly accept them as a disciple. This news has already spread throughout our Xiong, immortal Tao world. How could I not come? The most new small say is at 6-9 book bar first hair. What? There's such information? Zhang Yu thought, and it spread throughout the Xiong immortal Tao world. How come I don't know? Could it be that small fries in the immortal Tao world aren't worthy of knowing? However, at this moment, Zhang Yu suppressed his doubts and decided to fulfill his duties as a security guard. He walked up to the person who was speaking and said politely, "Sir, are you all right?" The young man who had just spoken had sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes, clearly an extraordinary individual. He looked at the security guard in confusion. What could be wrong with me? The young man said proudly, "I am Lian Tianji from Xian High School. Can you see I'm talking with my friend?" Zhang Yu and Zhao Tianxing looked at the other person, and then looked at the so-called friend. It was a box placed on the table, the surface of which was covered with a special wooden texture. The size of the box looked like an urn. Zhang Yu couldn't help but think, schizophrenia. Did he go crazy from studying? However, Zhang Yu was quite familiar with Xian High School, which the other party mentioned. It was a key high school even more prestigious than Songyang High School, one of the three famous schools in Songyang City, a school that the past Zhang Yu didn't even have the qualifications to apply for, a school he wouldn't even dare to dream of. It is said that the principals of Xian High School, throughout the generations, are known for their cruel methods, outrageous high pressure, and hellish strict school rules. Compared with it, the various things in Songyang High School are just a drop in the bucket. The legendary campus caste system, where poor students eat in the toilet, and the weak should kneel to the strong. All these rules are enough to make students from other high schools shudder. Looking at Lian Tianji, who was talking to the urn in front of him, Zhang Yu couldn't help but sigh that Xian High School had really driven people crazy. But at this moment, the urn spoke, "Brother Lian, these two security guards must have misunderstood. I am Li Xingyu, a soul cultivation student from Mangshan High School." Mangshan High School? Soul cultivation student. Zhang Yu remembered that wasn't that the high school he had once tried to apply to. Although he knew that soul cultivation students, in addition to having lower requirements for the total score in the college entrance examination and taking a specialized path, also had the requirement of abandoning their physical body. But looking at the urn on the table at this moment, he was still shocked. Mention high school, it really turns people into ghosts. Zhang Yu and Zhao Tianqing quickly apologized and left. Then, they saw Yan Tianji and Li Xingyu talking for a few more sentences, and then for propeller-like things stretched out from the urn, and it flew away like a drone. Seeing this scene, Zhang Yu secretly rejoiced that the original owner of his body had not chosen the path of a soul cultivation student in the end. Otherwise, he wouldn't even be able to achieve the appearance of a Taoist immortal, so how could he become an immortal cultivator? That's not right. The soul cultivation student doesn't even have a physical body anymore, so how are they planning to practice the martial arts in the celestial combat diagram? Then, he remembered the information about the celestial combat diagram that the two had just said. If that's the case, then I'm afraid there will be many genius teenagers under the age of 20 coming to participate in this art exhibition, just to try to master the peerless martial arts within the celestial combat diagram. Thinking of this, Zhang Yu became even more expectant of this art exhibition. A salary of 400 yuan an hour. Not only can you get money and watch the show, but you also have the opportunity to comprehend peerless martial arts. Who said this job is not good? This job is great. He turned his head to look at Zhao Tianqing, who was beside him, and asked, "How about it, old Zhao? Are you interested in the peerless martial arts in that celestial combat diagram?" Zhao Tianqing naturally shook his head. He had a good understanding of himself. This kind of thing that only true geniuses or rich people can master has nothing to do with ordinary people like them. Not only was he not interested, but he only had the intention of retreating at this moment. Even if the celestial combat diagram was unveiled later, he wouldn't even want to try it, for fear of becoming a clown in full view of the public. And after a while, Zhao Tianqing, who had gradually adapted to his identity as a security guard, couldn't wait to cover his face and leave, and immediately take off the security guard uniform on his body. Zhang Yu glanced at Zhao Tianqing, who quickly turned his back and looked in the direction the other party was facing, and immediately discovered several familiar faces. "Huh. Isn't that Qian Shen? And the other few seem to be from our school too?" Qian Shen is the top student whose total score has always been behind by Zhenjin, and has been maintaining the second place in the grade since the beginning of the school year. Zhang Yu patted Zhao Tianqing on the shoulder and said, "Old Zhao, look, aren't those our classmates?" Zhao Tianqing quickly pulled Zhang Yu over and said uneasily, "Turn around quickly, don't let them see us." "So hungry." Qian Shen rubbed his stomach, showing no interest in the paintings in the exhibition. He just wanted to find a place to eat a big meal. After all, he had just finished his body refinement tutoring, and rushed over. Ravenously hungry, he felt like he could eat a whole cow. "I'll go find something good to eat." After greeting his classmates who came with him, Qian Shen began searching the exhibition hall. The students who came to the exhibition with him were used to this. Studying the immortal path diligently day and night, and bitterly refining their bodies, the nutrition they needed and the amount they ate naturally far exceeded that of ordinary people. A study machine like Qian Shen, who cultivated diligently 24 hours a day, ate even more. His family tutor would worry if he only ate 5 meals a day. Just then, Qian Shen's eyes suddenly lit up, his gaze fixed on the buffet table. He quickly walked forward, grabbed a plate of prawns, and swallowed them in a few mouthfuls. But after eating for a while, he frowned. "This isn't nutritious enough?" As a top student in the first grade of Songyang High School, always second in the grade, Qian Shen's most important advantages, besides his talent and hard work, was of course his family's wealth. In order to enhance the effect of his cultivation, especially the effect of body refinement, the food he usually ate was rich in various immortal path elements. For him, a staunch believer in grades, whether something tasted good or not was secondary. What mattered most was whether it could improve his cultivation efficiency. He could naturally afford the seafood offered at the art exhibition buffet on a regular basis, but he had no interest in spending money specifically to satisfy his appetite. Instead, he felt it was a waste of his time and stomach. What seafood, what feast if it can't improve his grades? Then it's just garbage. So, while surveying the other dishes on the table, Qian Shen called over a waiter, wanting to ask if there was any other food that could be used for dietary supplements. "Everything edible is here. Help yourself to whatever you want." Hearing the waiter's somewhat cold voice, Qian Shen couldn't help but frown. But when he looked up, he saw a familiar face. Qianshen looked at the waiter's uniform and said in surprise, "You're working here?" "Yeah." Bai Zhenzhen said expressionlessly. "Anything else?" Qianshen frowned and said, "Are you that short on money?" "Then quickly sign a contract with the student council, otherwise continuing to waste time on this meaningless work will only hinder your immortal path. Even if I surpass you by then, it won't mean much." Qianshen's tone was full of emotion. After all, he had always regarded Bai Zhenzhen, the only girl in the same grade who could surpass him in total score, as his rival. In his mind, Bai Zhenzhen should have thought the same way. For the next 3 years of high school, the entire grade, even the entire school, would be the battlefield for their two geniuses to compete against each other, yet cherish each other. The two of them should break through their limits in repeated competitions and eventually be admitted to top universities together 3 years later. But facing Qianshen's sigh, Bai Zhenzhen said indifferently, "Are you teaching me how to do things?" Without waiting for Qianshen to answer, Bai Zhenzhen continued, "You, a guy with a total score of just over 600, are going to teach me, who has 650, how to do things?" Faced with Bai Zhenzhen's blatant grade discrimination, Qianshen, as a staunch supporter of grade supremacy, instantly lost his momentum. The 50-point difference was like a mountain crashing down on him. "You have a high score, what you say makes sense." At this moment, in Qianshen's eyes, Bai Zhenzhen's head seemed to have three sparkling numbers, 650, emitting a powerful sense of oppression, making him unable to say a word of rebuttal. Bai Zhenzhen frowned. "No, when you talk to me, why are you looking at the top of my head?" Qianshen snorted coldly, turned around, and left. "Just wait, Bai Zhenzhen. If you waste your time like this, I will definitely surpass you before long." Who knew that after only taking a few steps, he almost bumped into two security guards. It was Zhang who had come to check on the situation, and Zhao Tianxing, who was dragged over by him. Having just seen that Bai Zhenzhen and Qianshen seemed to have a bit of a conflict, Zhang, as a security guard, hurried over. Qianshen looked at the two. Although they were wearing security uniforms, they were classmates after all, and he recognized them at a glance, 550 and 580. Hearing this address, Zhang was slightly stunned. The next moment, he realized that 550 was his total score from last month's monthly exam, and 580 seemed to be Zhao Tianxing's total score. "Good fellow, you only have scores in your eyes, you can't even remember your classmates' names, right?" Another freak who has become abnormal from studying. But in fact, Qianshen not only couldn't remember their names, but he also couldn't remember the names and scores of students below 550. After all, to him below 550. Aren't they all NPCs? Is there any need to remember them? Like the 550 in front of him, in Qianshen's eyes, he was already a subhuman. According to his observations during this period, the other party would likely score below 550 in the next monthly exam, so starting next month, there would be no need to even remember him. Looking at the security uniforms on Zhang Yu and Zhao Tianxing, Qianshen shook his head again. "Why are you guys working here too?" Facing 550 and 580, the momentum that had just been suppressed by 650 instantly surged back from Qianshen. He said proudly, "Why are you two wasting time here instead of seizing the time to study and cultivate more?" "Zhang, aren't you here too?" Qianshen chuckled, confidently saying, "I specifically cleared my tutoring schedule today to come and comprehend the peerless martial arts within the celestial battle diagram." "Zhang, yeah, we're here to comprehend the celestial battle diagram too. And also to earn 800 per hour. Isn't it much more worthwhile to earn money and comprehend divine skills at the same time?" "Huh." Qianshen was slightly stunned upon hearing this, looking at Zhang with some surprise, thinking to himself, could it be that what this 550 scoring guy is saying actually makes some sense? He looked at Zhang and said, 550, I'll remember you. My name is Zhang Yu. Zhang Yu couldn't help but look at the top of his head again. Why do you keep staring at my head? But Qianshen quickly reacted, that's not right, you two think you can comprehend the celestial battle diagram. Zhao Tianxing felt more and more eyes on him, and Qianshen's disdainful gaze made his cheeks flush slightly. He quickly waved his hand and said, no, I didn't want to comprehend the celestial battle diagram. Qianshen didn't bother with Zhao Tianxing's explanation, simply shaking his head and sighing. The celestial battle diagram was personally drawn by a golden core expert. The peerless martial arts contained within are specifically for selecting true geniuses. Even I don't have absolute confidence in mastering them, let alone you. Having said that, Qiansheng had no interest in looking at the 550 and 580 in front of him, and turned to leave. Watching Qiansheng's departing figure, Zhao Tianxing's face became even more bitter. Now, not only had the other party seen him working as a security guard, but Zhang Yu's careless words had also misled them into thinking he was there to comprehend the celestial battle diagram. Zhao Tianxing was filled with bitterness, seemingly already envisioning being mocked by his classmates. He thought to himself, this time, I've lost a lot of face. Zhang Yu, on the other hand, didn't have as many thoughts in his head as Zhao Tianxing. He looked at Bai Zhenjin and asked, are you okay? Is your relationship with Qiansheng not very good? Bai Zhenjin curled her lips, casually saying, what could happen to me? Most of the time, he's just asking for humiliation. Then, she looked at Zhang Yu with a somewhat strange gaze, you're also planning to comprehend the celestial battle diagram. Seeing Zhang Yu confidently nodding, Bai Zhenjin thought to herself, Yuzi is becoming more and more obsessed due to the huge debt. With his level he actually wants to comprehend the martial arts left behind by a golden core master. Zhao Tianxing just wanted to leave this place quickly. He tugged at Zhang Yu's clothes, wanting to leave, but he noticed that the other party was exchanging glances with Bai Zhenjin. Immediately afterwards, he saw Bai Zhenjin secretly handing a plate of seafood to Zhang Yu. Zhang Yu, old Zhao, do you want to try some? Zhao Tianxing anxiously said, the captain said we're not allowed to eat the buffet. As he spoke, he hurriedly blocked Zhang Yu with his body, afraid that someone would see this. Zhang Yu casually said, isn't it a good thing that Ajin is also working here? We'll just take advantage of the company's resources. Just as Zhang Yu was tasting the prawns on his plate, a voice came from behind Zhao Tianxing. What are you guys doing? Zhao Tianxing was startled by the voice. When he turned around and realized that the speaker was Zhetiani from his class, he breathed a sigh of relief. Unknowingly, Zhao Tianxing seemed to have gradually become accustomed to wearing a security guard uniform in front of his classmates. Zhang Yu looked at Zhu Tianyi in surprise and said, old Zhu, you're here too? Zhu Tianyi smiled and said, yeah, I came with Qiansheng and the others. Zhang Yu, really? How come I didn't see you just now? Zhu Tianyi said, hee, how did you end up here? The two chatted about their respective situations. Zhao Tianxing urged Zhang Yu again to continue patrolling. Zhu Tianyi suddenly said with a mysterious look, there's some gossip about a golden core master. I don't know if you guys are interested in hearing it. Seeing the curious look on Zhang Yu's face, Zhao Tianxing said, the captain is already urging us in the group, asking where we are. Zhang Yu nodded, forget it, work is important. I'll listen to you next time. Just as the two were about to turn and leave, they heard Zhu Tianyi say, true person Xinghe plans to return to the first level because half of his cultivation was taken away after he resigned. Huh. Zhang Yu and Zhao Tianxing immediately turned around, waiting for Zhu Tianyi to continue speaking. Bai Zhenjin, who was standing to the side, didn't look over, but she perked up her ears to listen. Zhu Tianyi smiled and continued, golden core masters can live for up to 400 years, but true person Xinghe is already 350 years old this year and was optimized by the Myriad Dharma sect. Half of his cultivation was taken back when he resigned, and he couldn't afford the expenses above, so he wanted to return to the Kungshu first level to focus on cultivating his descendants and training his disciples. Zhang Yu was once again shocked by this. Damn world, wait, half of your cultivation is taken away when you resign. Zhu Tianyi said matter-of-factly, the sect nurtured him, gave him the opportunity and resources to form a core. Isn't it normal to hand over half of his cultivation when he leaves? Just as the three were listening to Zhu Tianyi's news about true person Xinghe, the crowd in the distance suddenly became a little restless. Some guests whispered, Madame Li is here. The celestial battle diagram is about to be unveiled. Amidst the gazes of the guests, a tall woman walked in slowly, surrounded by people. Her silver hair reflected a unique metallic luster. Zhang Yu wondered if this beautiful hair was a Dharma artifact, pondering how much a single strand would be worth. The woman's red evening dress was covered with traces of flowing fire, like clusters of flames leaping within, emitting powerful magical fluctuations. Zhao Tianxing thought that this dress itself seemed to be a magical treasure, probably priceless. At the same time, the director of Xianyuan Group, whose body seemed to be covered with a layer of gold leaf, took the initiative to greet Li Zulian. Then, two other Foundation establishment stage-rich people also joined their conversation. Surrounding them were numerous wealthy and influential figures, eager to chat with the four of them and familiarize themselves. But without giving these people too much of a chance, Li Zulian came to the screen of the celestial combat diagram, after chatting with the three of them for a while. "Everyone, thank you for coming to the art exhibition today." Amidst the applause, Li Zulian smiled slightly, and then said, "At this moment full of creativity and inspiration, we gather together." Listening to Li Zulian's speech, Xiong yawned boredly, thinking whether he should take this time to practice breathing exercises. Suddenly, his eyes moved, thinking that he had become more and more diligent in cultivation recently, not knowing if he was forced into the habit by the power of the ritual, or if this world, and this society, had a subtle influence on him. Fortunately, Li Zulian's speech was not long. While Zhang Yu was thinking, she had already started talking about the topic that the many immortal cultivation geniuses present were most interested in. "Li Zulian, in recent years, my father has been wanting to find a disciple to inherit his mantle and pass on his martial arts and Taoism. Unfortunately, his requirements are quite high. After searching hard for many years, he has not found a disciple who truly meets the requirements. So he personally painted this celestial combat diagram and hid a set of martial arts in this painting. If any young talents under the age of 20 can master the martial arts within, my father is willing to accept him as a disciple and cultivate him, with all his strength, to a top university. However, this painting contains a trace of martial arts will left by my father. Viewing this painting will be impacted by this trace of will, with the risk of damaging one's Tao heart. During the next process of comprehension, please act according to your ability, so as not to be injured by the martial arts will within." With Li Zulian's introduction, her palm slowly pulled open the curtain, revealing the celestial combat diagram behind it. In a frame more than 2 meters high, a blurred figure slowly emerged. "This is a picture painted by a golden core expert." Zhang Yu looked at the painting and felt that it was like a simple human figure scribbled by someone, similar to what a primary school student would draw. Just as Zhang Yu thought this, someone shouted, "Good painting. This painting has a lively charm, with excellent brushwork. Starfire True Person's paintings are truly wonderful and have reached the pinnacle, making us ashamed." Immediately, someone followed suit and boasted, "Too beautiful. This painting seems simple, but it contains a profound artistic conception. The more you look at it, the more you savor it." Just as more and more people began to praise this celestial combat diagram, Li Zulian couldn't help coughing, interrupting everyone's speech. Then she explained, "Everyone, in order to prevent this painting from accidentally hurting people, my father has set up mysteries on it. Only within 5 meters can you see the true content of the painting clearly, but you will also be affected by the martial arts will within. Young talents who want to comprehend it are welcome to take a few steps forward to view the painting." Hearing Li Zulian's words, the few people who were still boasting immediately blushed and stopped talking awkwardly. However, someone had already taken the lead and walked towards the celestial combat diagram. It was Lian Tianji of Xian High School, who had just spoken to the ash urn. "Haha, let me, Lian Tianji, see what mysteries this celestial combat diagram has." Lian Tianji smiled and walked quickly towards the direction of the celestial combat diagram. Seeing this scene, Qianshan's eyes moved, and he thought to himself, "It's Lian Tianji of Xian High School, a ruthless character who scored 670 in the monthly exam at Xian High School last month. He is one of the opponents I will challenge after defeating Bai Zhenjin." As Lian Tianji walked towards the celestial combat diagram step by step, he saw the figure in the painting becoming clearer and clearer in his eyes, as if he could see a middle-aged man slowly performing a profound set of martial arts. Lian Tianji's spirit was gradually attracted to it, and finally he saw the man in the painting suddenly punch towards him, from a distance. Bang! There seemed to be a muffled sound in the air. Lian Tianji suddenly stopped, his eyes widened, staring intently at the direction of the celestial combat diagram. Looking at him standing there motionless, everyone felt that Lian Tianji had been immersed in the celestial combat diagram, comprehending the mysterious martial arts within. Not far away, Li Zulian explained indifferently, in order to select disciples with strong will and extraordinary spirit. When comprehending the celestial combat diagram, the comprehender will directly face the fear in his heart. Only by strengthening the spirit and overcoming the weaknesses in one's heart Can one comprehend the mysteries in the painting? Hearing these words, everyone was surprised again, curiously looking at the motionless Lian Tianji, guessing what he had seen. At this moment, in Lian Tianji's eyes, the surrounding world changed, and he had unknowingly returned to the classroom. It seemed that the art exhibition, Li Zulian, the celestial combat diagram. He didn't remember any of it. The class teacher was reporting the results of the last monthly exam on the podium. But from the first place, he never heard his name. He wasn't in the top 10. He wasn't in the top 20. He still wasn't in the top 50. As the scores readout became lower and lower, Lian Tianji's heart became more and more nervous. At the art exhibition, looking at Lian Tianji, who was still comprehending the celestial combat diagram, Li Zulian said, "The celestial combat diagram can be comprehended together. Which other young talents are interested in coming to the painting?" Qian Shen and the surrounding classmates exchanged glances and walked towards the direction of the celestial combat diagram together. At the same time, other young people who came to comprehend the celestial combat diagram walked over, one after another. Zhang Yu looked at Zhu Tianyi beside him and asked curiously, "Aren't you going to try?" Zhu Tianyi smiled and shrugged, saying, "I'm just here to watch the fun. I better not go up and humiliate myself." Zhang Yu turned to look at Bai Zhenjin next to him and asked, "What about you? Aren't you going up either?" Bai Zhenjin glanced at the direction of the celestial combat diagram and said faintly, "I'm still hesitating." Zhang Yu asked curiously, "Hesitating about what?" "Bai Zhenjin, I don't want to find myself a master." She thought to herself, becoming a disciple will definitely require signing a contract with that Starfire True person and creating a contract of indenture. Bai Zhenjin sighed in her heart, when the time comes, not to mention anything else. Just choosing which university and which major, I'm afraid I will be controlled by him, and I will also owe a lot of debt. I don't know how the interest will be calculated. Hearing Bai Zhenjin's hesitation, Jiang Yu immediately said, "Then you don't have to become Starfire True Person's disciple if you don't master this set of martial arts." Zhang Yu looked at the direction of the celestial combat diagram and smiled slightly. "The martial arts left by a golden core true person, even if it's martial arts practiced during the key training stage, if we buy the usage rights ourselves, it would cost at least tens of thousands of yuan, right? Why not take the opportunity to learn martial arts for free? If you don't want to be Starfire True Person's disciple, then don't master this martial art today." Zhao Tianxing, who was next to him, curled his lips secretly when he heard this, feeling that Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin were more arrogant than each other. At the same time, he moved a few steps away, fearing that someone around would look over and regard him as the same arrogant and ignorant person. Bai Zhenjin looked at Zhang Yu speechlessly, thinking how fierce are the debt collectors from small platform loans to force Yuzi into this mental state. Zhu Tianyi smiled and said, "That makes sense. Anyway, it doesn't cost money to comprehend it. Let's try it together." Zhao Tianxing refused Zhang Yu and Zhu Tianyi's request. Just thinking about himself wearing a security guard uniform, or waiter's uniform, and comprehending the celestial combat diagram in full view, he felt too embarrassed. But looking at Zhang Yu's back as he walked up, he suddenly admired the other party's thick skin. Just then, the walkie-talkie on Zhao Tianxing's waist rung, and the security captain scolded, "What are you doing? You are a security guard. Who allowed him to leave his post without permission to comprehend the combat diagram? Hurry up and call him back." Zhao Tianxing was sweating profusely from being scolded, and hurriedly ran forward while shouting, trying to pull Zhang Yu back. As Zhao Tianxing approached the celestial combat diagram step by step, the figure in the picture gradually became clear, and there was a burst of laughter from all around. Zhao Tianxing turned his head and saw that everyone in the entire art exhibition was looking at him, pointing and commenting, laughing at him for being overconfident and wanting to comprehend the combat diagram with just a mere security guard. Amidst the ridicule of countless people, Zhao Tianxing slowly stopped, awkwardly at a loss, touching his head for a while, scratching his ears for a while, not knowing how to stand. At the same time, as Zhang Yu and the three of them approached the celestial combat diagram step by step, the blurred figure in the picture gradually became clear, turning into a middle-aged man with a resolute face, and finally punched towards them from a distance. Bai Zhenjin only felt a darkness in front of her, and her phone vibrated frantically. She picked it up and found that it was a collection message from a lending platform. "Regarding your overdue Qi and Bei Qian Quan loan, Due to repeated unsuccessful collections in serious circumstances, please settle the outstanding amount within 3 days after receiving this message. If you continue to be overdue, we will handle it in accordance with relevant laws. Continued arrears will result in verification of your background investigation location. Deadbeat, you don't even want your face for owing this little money. Wouldn't it be nice for your whole family to help you pick up bottles together? More and more collection messages, the content of which became more and more unscrupulous, gradually changing from simple collection to all-round, dead-end insults, abuse, and threats. Bai Zhen looked at the endless stream of collection messages on her phone, sweating profusely and tensing up until the phone rang. But even though she didn't do anything, the phone answered automatically. Under her horrified gaze, a cold male voice came from the phone. Due to your credit fraud and overdue payment, you have constituted a serious breach of contract. The location has now been locked through the Skynet. If the outstanding amount is still not settled within 3 days, a thunder tribulation will descend. A muffled thunder sounded. Bai Zhen suddenly looked up and saw faint flashes of lightning vaguely flickering above her head. Listening to Audio Nova. 645,644,639. One by one, the figures of his classmates appeared before Qi and Shen. He couldn't see their faces clearly, but he could clearly see the scores displayed above their heads. 680, 690, 660. Each person's score was so unattainable, so dazzling, that Qi and Shen felt ashamed of himself. He felt so inadequate and insignificant, like a mere lackey, standing before his classmates. Standing among these people, I'm practically a bag of wet garbage. With a mere 600 plus points, I don't deserve to stand here, let alone talk to them, or get close to them. In his eyes, the scores above his classmates' heads kept rising, and their figures grew taller, like towering giants reaching into the clouds. Soon, he could only see their legs, and he couldn't even make out their faces. Meanwhile, on the other side of the art exhibition, Li Xingyu's drone from Mangshan High School traced a path through the air, slowly flying towards the celestial being martial arts diagram. But the next moment, with a crackling sound, the drone seemed to malfunction, and fell to the ground, at a crooked angle. The soul cultivators from Mangshan High School all have contracts, so don't bother trying to join in the fun. Li Zulian murmured softly, then turned her gaze away from the drone, and continued to look at the other students. It's a pity that almost all the students trying this time are freshmen. Students in their junior or senior year would have a better chance of mastering the martial arts in the celestial being martial arts diagram. But it's understandable the top students in their junior and senior years either don't meet the age requirements or already have contracts, so they can't possibly find a master now. Just then, the director of Xianyuan Group's Songyang City branch, radiating golden light, came to Li Zulian's side and said with a smile, "This celestial being martial arts diagram is indeed a masterpiece personally painted by real person Xinghe. It's truly miraculous. I wonder what exactly it tests for?" Li Zulian didn't directly answer his question, but said calmly, "The first stage of the celestial being martial arts diagram tests the Dao heart. Those who can't withstand it are often forced to retreat, and may even leave a flaw in their Dao heart." Zhao Tianqing felt the contemptuous and mocking gazes of countless people around him, and his body couldn't help but retreat, moving away from the range of the celestial being martial arts diagram. When he came back to his senses and looked at the surroundings, he realized that the full audience and scornful eyes were all effects of the celestial being martial arts diagram. Thinking of this, and understanding that he had not passed the test of the celestial being martial arts diagram at all, his face immediately flushed red, and he quickly retreated, afraid that someone would discover his self-inflicted humiliation as a security guard. At the art exhibition, Li Zulian continued, "If one can pass the test of this first stage, it will naturally have the effect of tempering the Dao heart. As for the Dao heart level, most of us cultivators rely on mental cultivation methods to improve it. And different mental cultivation methods require different ideologies to match. For example, ancient divine worship cultivation methods require practitioners to be extremely pious, with absolute faith in the gods. The more pious they are, the better the effect of the divine worship cultivation method. Or like Xian High School's Tianqian cultivation method, it requires practitioners to cultivate diligently to the extreme, integrating hard work into their instincts in order to maximize its effectiveness. And the basic mind refining method for high school students focuses on calming the mind and gathering the spirit, requiring silent endurance, and the ideology of dripping water, wearing away a stone to cooperate. There are thousands of ways to improve the Tao heart, some high and some low, but the key is whether the practitioner has an ideology that matches the cultivation method. But ideology is difficult to measure. How a person truly thinks, and whether it truly matches the cultivation method, is something that even they themselves may not be able to say clearly, let alone outsiders. Fortunately, the stronger the Tao heart, the stronger a person's willpower. Testing the strength of willpower to determine the Tao heart level, and verifying the effect of the cultivation method's improvement, has become the simplest method. However, the celestial being martial arts diagram is not just simply confirming the strength of the Tao heart, by testing the strength of willpower. The celestial being martial arts diagram targets the fear in the heart, directly striking at the weaknesses in people's minds, not giving them the opportunity to resist with mental cultivation methods. It tests their most authentic reactions. When facing weaknesses in the mind, only by adjusting one's ideology and time, can one make up for the weaknesses in the heart, and pass the level. The director of Xiong Group's Songyang City branch's eyes flickered, and he said, "I understand. Senior Xinghe wants a disciple with a flexible ideology. A disciple who can switch gods to worship when practicing divine worship cultivation methods, and who can both work hard and slack off when practicing Tianqing cultivation methods." Li Zulian nodded. There are thousands of cultivation methods, and it is certainly good if the ideology can match the cultivation method. But only those who can constantly adjust their ideology to adapt to environmental changes and changes in cultivation methods are true geniuses, not bound by the cultivation method. Especially now that the times are developing faster and faster, the 10 great sects are influencing all aspects of society, and the entire Kungshu is undergoing drastic changes. It won't work if the ideology can't adapt in time. For example, in today's world, exams and scores are indispensable for embarking on the path of cultivation, and they have long been integrated into the lives of every cultivator. Therefore, the ideology of modern cultivators naturally lacks the obsession with exams and scores. Having excellent scores and an obsession with scores can make a top student's will firm, and the Tao heart level will be easier to improve. But conversely, this is also a weakness in the mind. There is always someone better, and there is always a sky beyond the sky. The more confident many top students are when they are at the top, the more inferior they are when they fall behind. To overcome this weakness in the mind, cultivators need to make flexible changes in their ideology and time. This is the key to passing the level. For example, there was a student who constantly experienced low scores in the test of the celestial being martial arts diagram, and finally overcame his fear of low scores, and cultivated a delusional ideology. Liang Tianji listened to the teacher announcing the results on the podium, and suddenly laughed several times. Ha 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 ha, since I have become the worst student, then let's start from scratch. From today on, I am the most useless, the worst performing student. But as a poor student, I also have the opportunity to surpass me one by one, and ascend to the first place. I will definitely become the first in the grade. As he overcame the fear in his heart, he felt like he had returned to the art exhibition again, and the celestial being martial arts diagram in front of him became clearer and clearer. Li Zulian continued, Kungshu has 36 layers above ground, and 18 layers below ground, each layer a different world. Whether it is humans or immortals, they are also divided into different grades. This grading is integrated into the bones of every cultivator, affecting the depths of everyone's ideology. Previously, there was a student who experienced countless layers of oppression in the celestial being martial arts diagram, and eventually transformed into a lying flat ideology. Qian Shen watched as the giants with scores far surpassing his rose from the ground, becoming taller and taller, gradually obscuring their faces. Only the scores above the giants' heads continued to increase, emitting a dazzling light. He tried to keep up with them, but to no avail. As the giants grew more and more exaggeratedly tall, and the scores increased, his mood changed from nervousness to fear, then from fear to despair, and finally gradually turned into numbness. He lay down on the ground, no longer looking at the figures of the giants. Fine. I just won't chase after them. I just need to be able to cultivate immortality, even if I can't compare to anyone. As long as I can cultivate immortality, that's enough. Like waking up from a big dream, Qian Shen, lying on the ground, opened his eyes and looked at the art exhibition, and the martial arts diagram in front of him, a trace of understanding appearing in his eyes. At the art exhibition, the director of Xianyang Group's Songyang City branch listened to Li Zulian's analysis and agreed the change in ideology is inseparable from the influence of the development of the times. He guessed like today's society, everyone relies on loans, which must also be reflected in the trials of the celestial being martial arts diagram, right? That's right. Li Zulian nodded and said, there was a student who directly faced the horror of repaying debts on the immortal path in the test of the celestial being martial arts diagram, and eventually became a deadbeat ideology. Looking at the heavenly tribulation of debt collection constantly brewing in the sky, Bai Zhenzhen squatted down in horror. Wait. I'll pay the money. I'll pay the money, okay. Don't strike me. She quickly opened her phone, checked her account, wanting to see how much money she owed and how much she could pay back. 800,000. Opening the first loan platform, Bai Zhenzhen's heart sank. Then the 1.2 million yuan in debt on the second platform made cold sweat break out on her back. 2 million, 5 million, 8 million. As the total amount of debt she calculated in her heart continued to increase, the hand holding the phone gradually drooped weakly. A total of 8 million yuan in debt, such a huge amount for a high school student, would either lead to complete collapse or. Bai Zhenzhen suddenly laid down on the ground, looked at the lightning in the sky and shouted, if you have the guts, strike me to death. If you strike me to death, 8 million will disappear into thin air. Seeing that the lightning had not fallen for a long time, Bai Zhenzhen continued, either you strike me to death, and 8 million will disappear into thin air. Or help me find some work to do, and I'll pay you back when I earn money. As the heavenly tribulation gradually dissipated, the celestial being martial arts diagram reappeared in front of Bai Zhenzhen. And looking at the martial arts practiced by the people in it, Bai Zhenzhen seemed to understand something. At the art exhibition, Li Zulian sighed, but whether it is delusions, lying flat, or being a deadbeat, it is just a state of using ideology to resist pressure under heavy pressure. Although it can temper their will and heart, what will happen in the future still depends on how they walk in reality. After all, this is just the first stage of the celestial being martial arts diagram, just a threshold. She remembered when she was in high school, her father also tested her heart. And at that time, what she feared most was her father. In the test, she was severely suppressed by her father, and finally rose up to resist under heavy pressure, establishing a rebellious ideology, and after waking up, she ruthlessly exploited her old man's money, and her cultivation can be said to have progressed by leaps and bounds. However, not long after, the pressure from all aspects of real society, as well as her father's every move, made her regain her respect, and for her father. The director of Xiong Group's Songyang City branch nodded slightly, knowing that Li Zulian was right. The effect brought by this kind of heart test is only temporary. After all, people's ideologies are constantly changing, so how can the influence brought by a mere heart test withstand the long-term influence brought by the entire society in the real world? Li Zulian continued, after surviving the first stage and overcoming the fear in the heart, the next step is the real comprehension. And after passing the comprehension stage, whether one can ultimately master it is another matter. The director nodded, understanding that overcoming fear, comprehending the martial arts diagram, and mastering martial arts were the 3 stages of comprehending the celestial being martial arts diagram. Then how many people do you think can master it among the people present? Li Zulian looked at the many students present and shook her head. I'm afraid it will be difficult to find even one. When Zhang Yu saw the figure on the celestial being martial arts diagram gradually become clear, and watched the figure begin to practice a set of boxing techniques, he suddenly felt a chill rise in his heart. Please abide by the ritual agreement, work hard to fulfill your wish, do not deliberately slack off or delay. 10. Zhang Yu was slightly stunned. Wait, I am working hard to comprehend the martial arts diagram now. Isn't that working hard to study and work hard to get into a good university? But the chill could not communicate with him, and only continued to count down. Please abide by the ritual agreement, work hard to fulfill your wish, do not deliberately slack off or delay. 9. Please abide by the ritual agreement, work hard to fulfill your wish, do not deliberately slack off or delay. 8. Zhang Yu had no choice but to sit down, and try to breathe in spiritual energy, to see if he could stop the countdown. As he began to breathe in, the chill gradually dissipated, and the countdown stopped. This idiot. Just as Zhang Yu was breathing in, and cursing the power of the ritual, another surge of chill surged in his body. Please abide by the ritual agreement, work hard to fulfill your wish, do not deliberately slack off or delay. 10. Hearing this new countdown, Zhang Yu was shocked. Wait, I am working hard to cultivate. Why is there another countdown? What's wrong with this idiot ritual? Zhang Yu simply stopped breathing in to try and see if the surging, chill, and countdown disappeared. Instead, a new surge of chill and countdown occurred. Listening to the two countdowns ringing in his head, taking turns counting down, Zhang Yu finally understood what was going on. There are two countdowns. Is one of the two fake? Two identical chills, two identical countdowns. After several attempts, Zhang Yu discovered that these two ritualistic forces were pressing in different directions. One stopped counting down after he breathed in spiritual energy. The other stopped counting down after he comprehended the celestial human martial arts diagram. Zhang Yu immediately became even more certain of one thing: one of these two countdowns was fake. It's probably the effect of the celestial human martial arts diagram. Directly facing the fear in my heart, so it's recreating the pressure of the ritualistic power on me? But I didn't expect the ritualistic power recreated by the celestial human martial arts diagram to conflict with the real ritualistic power on my body. But which of the two ritualistic powers is fake? Is it the one that stopped counting down after I breathed in spiritual energy? Or is it the one that stopped counting down after I comprehended the celestial human martial arts diagram? Zhang Yu was more inclined towards the latter, but he couldn't make a decision lightly. Because the price of choosing wrong was death. Which one should I choose? Listening to the constantly changing countdowns in his heart, Zhang Yu was extremely conflicted, unable to make a decision for a long time. Since I can't choose, then I simply won't choose. His eyes narrowed, and he made a decision: I'll treat both countdowns as real. Zhang Yu sat down cross-legged on the spot, and began to circulate the heavenly cycle key gathering method, breathing in the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. As the countdown in his heart continued, from 10 to 5 to 3, Zhang Yu stood up again and looked towards the direction of the celestial human martial arts diagram, trying to comprehend the set of martial arts contained within. In this way, under the simultaneous pressure of the two countdowns, Zhang Yu alternately performed the heavenly cycle key gathering method and comprehended the celestial human martial arts diagram, advancing in turn. At the same time, some people at the art exhibition gradually noticed Zhang Yu's strangeness. The Songyang city director of the Immortal Rhyme group looked at Zhang Yu curiously and said, "This kid is breathing in spiritual energy one moment, and standing up to comprehend martial arts the next. What is he seeing?" Li Zulian, who was beside him, also turned her gaze to Zhang Yu, thoughtfully saying, "It looks like someone is forcing him to breathe in spiritual energy. Maybe it's out of reverence for a certain teacher in reality." Just then, they discovered that Zhang Yu had changed his movements again, no longer breathing in spiritual energy, but starting to practice the 36 forms of body strengthening. It turned out that Zhang Yu had suddenly realized one thing: the countdown that stopped counting down after he breathed in spiritual energy might not be forcing him to breathe in spiritual energy, but forcing him to walk the path of learning, cultivating, going to college, and working to earn money. So he began to try whether he could practice martial arts while looking at the celestial human martial arts diagram. In any case, his 36 forms of body strengthening had long been ingrained in his muscle memory. If he could practice martial arts while looking at the celestial human martial arts diagram to comprehend it, he could focus most of his attention on the celestial human martial arts diagram. After all, his main purpose at the moment was to comprehend the martial arts on the celestial human martial arts diagram. After this attempt succeeded, he began to feel that it was still a bit troublesome to practice martial arts while comprehending, so he simply took out his phone and tried to browse the textbooks on his phone while looking at the celestial human martial arts diagram. Finding that browsing textbooks was also no problem, he simply played the textbook content on his phone aloud, listening to the textbook content while comprehending the celestial human martial arts diagram. Looking at Zhang Yu's appearance of breathing in spiritual energy, practicing martial arts, and studying, Li Zulian sincerely sighed. Behind this child must be an extremely strict teacher, constantly forcing him to work hard, even gradually becoming an image of immense fear in his heart. Next, it depends on whether he can break through with thought under layers of pressure. But before Li Zulian could finish speaking, Zhang Yu actually moved away from the celestial human martial arts diagram and ran directly to the buffet table, took a large plate of seafood, and returned to the celestial human martial arts diagram to comprehend it while eating. Because he suddenly remembered that eating should also not be blocked by the ritual. Looking at this scene, Li Zulian was slightly surprised, and said, "Oh?" He broke through so quickly. Under layers of pressure, he directly established a philosophy of slacking off. Only then can he directly face the fear in his heart, and continue to comprehend the martial arts in the martial arts diagram. Perhaps even he himself has not realized that, and knowingly, he has overcome the fear in his heart, passed this test of the martial arts diagram, and everything is back to normal. Seeing that a security guard wanted to step forward to stop Zhang Yu, Li Zulian waved her hand and dismissed him. She was now quite curious about how much Zhang Yu could comprehend from the martial arts diagram. While eating lobster and looking at the martial arts diagram, Zhang Yu gradually saw clearly what kind of martial arts the figure was practicing. It seems to be a set of fist techniques. The fist technique itself was not complicated. Zhang Yu had a vague idea after looking at it several times, but when he looked at his feather book, he found that there was no change at all. Obviously, he had not truly learned this martial art, let alone mastered it. According to his experience in learning high school, basic, swordsmanship, and the heavenly cycle key gathering method, similar martial arts should display a level 0 on the feather book. After he looked at it once. "What's wrong?" Just then, Lian Tianji laughed loudly, saying with a confident face, "I have fully comprehended the martial arts within. It is indeed a marvelous palm technique." Before he could finish speaking, Qian Shen, who was not far away, said, "What palm technique? It is clearly a leg technique." Normally, Qian Shen, with a total score of 600, would definitely not dare to speak loudly in front of Lian Tianji, with a total score of 670. But at this moment, after experiencing a round of Tao heart tempering from the celestial human martial arts diagram, it was precisely when Qian Shen was at his boldest. These words of the two quickly aroused opposition from others. Someone argued, no, the martial arts hidden in the martial arts diagram are clearly a set of saber techniques. Someone began indiscriminate ridicule. A bunch of blind people, that's clearly a set of finger techniques. Bai Zhenzhen frowned slightly. What she saw was a sword technique. Obviously, while Zhang Yu was eating and comprehending, more and more students had completed the comprehension of the martial arts diagram. Listening to the discussion, Lian Tianji simply turned his gaze to Li Zulian, and asked, "Mrs. Li, I wonder what kind of martial arts are hidden in this martial arts diagram?" Seeing everyone present looking over, Li Zulian smiled slightly and said, "I cannot disclose what specific martial arts it is. However, I would like to remind everyone that there are mysteries in the martial arts diagram. If anyone present has mastered the martial arts within, there will naturally be an indication." Everyone understood that this meant that if anyone in the audience mastered the martial arts in the martial arts diagram, the martial arts diagram would naturally have a prompt appear. Thinking of this, Lian Tianji stepped forward without hesitation. Lian Tianji from Xian High School already had the absolute confidence of being a pride of heaven. After the test just now, his self-confidence had expanded to a peak state. At this moment, he used the palm technique that he had just comprehended from the martial arts diagram. Between his moves, bursts of wind and thunder sounded, and surging strength and killing intent erupted from his body, as if to blast the entire art exhibition away. Zhao Tianxing, who had been observing the results here, felt a burst of exclamation in his heart at this moment, when he saw this scene. What high physical strength, what terrifying palm technique, this is a killing martial art used for combat. However, Lian Tianji's physical strength was considered powerful among high school freshmen, but there were many cultivators who had already graduated from high school, and they were even more surprised by the proficiency of the martial arts that Lian Tianji displayed. Someone exclaimed in his heart, "Is this really the palm technique he just comprehended from the martial arts diagram? Every move and every stance is so skilled. The top student of Xian High School is indeed a genius among geniuses." But after Lian Tianji performed this set of palm techniques, the celestial human martial arts diagram did not move at all, without the slightest reaction. "How is that possible?" Lian Tianji said in disbelief. "I have clearly mastered the martial arts on the diagram, how can it not work?" Qian Shen smiled and walked up to Lian Tianji. "I said long ago that this is a leg technique." Next, he also displayed the martial arts he had comprehended from the diagram in front of the martial arts diagram. Although he did not perform as easily as Lian Tianji, he was already familiar with the moves. Bai Zhenzhen frowned again, as she watched this scene. "Is this a body-refining martial art? Specially used to train legs?" As Qian completed the last move, the celestial human martial arts diagram still did not move, without the slightest abnormality. How is that possible? Saying the same words as Lian Tianji, Qian also looked at the martial arts diagram in disbelief. Next, students continued to step forward to show off the martial arts they had comprehended. Including Lian Tianji and Qian, 12 students successively demonstrated a total of 9 sets of martial arts: fist, palm, leg, finger, claw, saber, sword, spear, and staff. Among them, 3 people had martial arts that overlapped with others. But after this round of martial arts performances, no one could cause a reaction from the celestial human martial arts diagram. Lian Tianji couldn't help but turn his head to look at Li Zulian, and asked again, "Mrs. Li, are none of us successful?" Li Zulian did not answer, just shook her head slightly, with a look of disappointment in her eyes. Just then, Bai Zhenjun slowly walked up and, under the gaze of everyone, used her fingers as a sword to practice a set of swordsmanship. Although this set of swordsmanship was unparalleled in sharpness, and Bai Zhenjun's every move and every stance could be called masterful, everyone present stopped paying attention, after watching a few glances. After all, there were also 2 people who had stepped forward to practice martial arts and display swordsmanship before, and they had not been able to cause a change in the martial arts diagram. But who knew that after Bai Zhenjun finished performing this set of swordsmanship, the style of painting changed, and she used her hand as a knife to display a set of saber techniques. Then there were fist techniques, palm techniques, leg techniques. Zhao Tianxing said in surprise, "Bai Zhenjun has learned all the martial arts that everyone practiced before." Lian Tianji frowned as he watched this scene, thinking in such a short period of time, she was able to watch it, once, and perform all the martial arts demonstrated by everyone. Which key high school is this woman from? Looking at Bai Zhenjun, whose every move and every stance seemed to have been practiced hard for a long time, Qianshan's thoughts were also surging in his heart. On the one hand, he was amazed that Bai Zhenjun could actually perform all the 9 sets of martial arts that everyone had comprehended. On the other hand, doubts continued to arise in his heart. Is it really possible to perform all the 9 sets of martial arts that everyone has comprehended? Just then, in the surprised eyes of everyone, the man on the celestial human martial arts diagram moved, actually looking at Bai Zhenjun, with a smile, and 2 words appeared on the scroll. Not bad. That's it for today's chapter. Don't forget to like and follow so you won't miss the next update. Thank you all for listening.